Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's Grow Wealthy Grooming. For those of you guys that are new, welcome to the Savvy Groomers Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am Riverly. I am your host. I am a CFMG. I own a Feel exclusive mobile grooming business. I have been in the pet industry over 10 years in multiple facets. If you want to learn more about me, please feel free to go to my website, which is savvygroomer.com. There you can learn more about myself, free resources, and my business coaching. Please consider joining me weekly, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on this show, which is Grow Wealthy Grooming. You can subscribe so you never miss a video. If you're a pet groomer, please apply to my Facebook group called Finances for the Grooming Industry. We would love to see you guys there. So let's have a conversation about how do I save money if I'm struggling. So first things first, I want to talk to you guys individually as employees and as business owners as usual. So let's begin with our employees. Now, if you're an employee, one thing I want to ask you is, did you seek employment in a place that you can afford to work at? So if I asked you how much money you have to make in order to survive, live, and thrive, do you know how much that is? Depending upon your lifestyle, ask yourself, how much money do I need in order to survive and just pay the bills? How much money do I need to live where I have enough money to survive and enough to be comfortable? And whether that's little creature comforts like Netflix, little things that make you happy. You're not living like a monk or in a cave. And then thrive is putting money towards retirement, having the correct insurances, which you should anyway, but a lot of times we just simply cannot afford a lot of those extra luxuries that come with being in Thrive. So knowing where you are in your financial stance will help you begin there. And knowing how much money you need to earn in order to do that. If you're an employee, is the place you're working, you're making enough money. And if you're like, yes, in fact, I need $2,000 a month to just survive, but I'm actually making $5,000. I'm like, perfect. So you should be in live and almost enough to thrive. Perfect. So if you have enough money, then why aren't you saving? And this is where, again, are you doing a written budget? And I know everyone's scared of the word budget. It's not scary. It's not, I promise. A budget is not about withholding money. A budget is all about giving your money direction. I generally use the example of an appointment book. If we just had customers come and go as they pleased, and they just showed up whenever they wanted to, and they just picked up whenever they wanted to, our lives would be in chaos. Even if you have a really loose kind of like drop off in the morning, pick up at night, at least you have a system. Essentially what you're doing with your money is you're letting them drop off. They're like, hey, I'm bringing Fluffy in for a haircut. And you say, sure, whatever. Okay, here you go, I'll groom you. And then other things come up and you hadn't anticipated those things. You didn't know the ones that your Samoyed was going to walk in. Things like a Samoyed are car repairs. You're going to need a car repair. You have an older car. The car is going to break down. Do you have money set aside? No, but you knew they were coming. Ultimately, at some point, when it was going to come. Okay, so you're like, okay, well, I'm on a written budget. I make enough money, but I still can't save. Okay, well, if you're on a written budget and you make more than you need to just survive, what is the next thing? Generally speaking, with savings, it could also be that you are not paying attention to what you're actually spending. So yes, you have a budget, but you're not tracking your expenses. And this again would be very similar to if you had an appointment book and you write down what everyone's appointment should be, but then you're not actually paying attention if people are coming and going. So I use an app called EveryDollar. You can either input it directly or you can use EveryDollar goes directly to your bank account, and you can just swipe it right into your categories, which are fantastic. So let's say you didn't write in the budget, you may have plenty of money, you're inputting all of your amounts and you still don't have money. Well, there should be money left over. And when you're doing a zero-based budget, when you're putting that money, you have to actually allocate money, actually write a category for savings. You're on a written budget, you go ahead and you input all of your expenses every day. And now you have realized in your budget, you need to actually allocate money for savings. Then there's really no excuse other than you're lazy. If you're on a written budget and you're allocating money and you've written, I just say $500 a month, something's going on. Now, there could be drama in your life. Maybe there's family trouble or something else going on. You can't always assume life is going to happen. Sometimes those things happen out of it. But if you tell yourself, I'm going to put away $500 this month, and you spend it on popsicles, you have no one to blame but yourself. Now, if you have a chronically sick pet, if you have a family member who's asking you for money, these are things that you're going to have to make lifestyle choices about, and that's tough. It's tough to make lifestyle choices. You're going to have to go back into your lifestyle and cut something. Now, if you are in a position where you're not making enough money, what can you do? Get a second job. So if you're struggling as an employee, getting a second job is an option. Another option is to start your own little side business. Or if you don't ever want to own your own business, you could always, again, pick up another job and say, hey, if you ever want somebody for extra work, I'll do it for $20 an hour, depending on what your hourly is where you live. You figure it out when you work per hour. We do a lot of stuff that we're not getting paid for when we're commissioned. So getting a steady paycheck is sometimes easier. So let's say you've exhausted those. Go ahead and try and find some stuff to sell. Go in your drawers and see what you have. I promise you have way too many scissors. You have way too many blades. So you can sell one. Is it going to get you as much as you paid for it? Never. But it's okay, because then you can have it and then you can sell it, and then if you need another one down the road when you're more financially stable, it's okay. You'll have the money later. So don't worry about it. I'm not saying you can't have this now. You're going to eventually have it. So don't worry about it. What else could you do, right? Consider asking your boss for a raise. Again, this is where I really prefer people to have hourly. Hourly is a lot easier because if you are commission based, you really can't have a raise. They're not going to increase their prices for you as an employee. That's not going to happen. And you really can't ask an employer to raise the prices on their dogs. If you have a specialty that's very expensive, you can say, I would like to focus on that. A perfect example is someone who does bath and haircut dogs. And let's say the bath dogs are like $25 for a lab, where a Shih Tzu haircut is $65. You can always say to your boss, hey, I really can't afford to take commission on a $25 lab bath when I have to turn away, $65 Yorkies or Shih Tzus. My skill set and at my level, I would like to focus on doing that. And they may say no, and that sucks. For those of you guys that are just joining, what else can you do? So we've done all these things and we want to go ahead and start saving some money. I generally do not suggest you guys do a large sale. So just like grooming stuff, small stuff, try not to do something big like sell your car and downgrade your car unless if you're ready to make a big life change. What else can I do to start saving money when I'm struggling? A lot of it comes down to lifestyle. Then we're going to talk about the obligation versus priorities. What are you spending your money on? Start going through your budget and say, okay, what am I actually spending money on? What can you cut? Don't pick things that you really enjoy, that make you happy, that make you a better worker, because if you cut those things out, then it's going to make it really hard for you. Eventually what's going to happen is you're going to feel weary from grooming, you're going to feel burnt out, and a lot of that's because you've sucked all the joy out of your life. What is it that is stopping you from saving? Is it your habits? Do you have an automatic withdrawal? Sometimes it's easier if you're an employee, especially. It's a lot easier for you every paycheck to have a certain amount of money go into an account. Again, with savings, a lot of it comes down to why you don't have savings. Most of us don't have savings because we either have debt or we're overspending. So if you're an employee and you're not overspending, then you're probably in debt. And if you're in debt, look at what you're in debt for. And again, this is generally where people start getting really frustrated with debt, because savings and debt are the same animal. Debt is you have already spent the money and now you're working to pay it off. Savings is you're going to work and you're going to have the money. They're just opposite ends. So what you're going to be able to do is figure out how you're going to get from being in debt to savings. And everyone's road is very different, but really it's all about making the decision. In Personal Finance and Unleashed, we talk about two different characters and survive, because most of us are these characters. We're either both or we're one or the other. So these characters are Sally Survive and Samantha Spender. And so when we're really struggling to save, what's happening there is it's one of two reasons. It's either you just can't get ahead. No matter how much money you make, you can't get ahead. And again, most of the time, if you can't get ahead, it's either the income is not there and you have to either get a different job or pick up a second job, or you're not on a written budget and you have no idea where your money is going and you have no control and therefore you feel powerless. With Samantha Spender, generally speaking, it's the I deserve trap. And there are things you have earned, there are things that you deserve, absolutely. But with this spending trap, what's happening is that you say to yourself, I work so hard all Saturday, I deserve XYZ. And instead of just saying to yourself, I'm going to spend whatever reasonable is to you, but you're going to overblow it because you have almost this resentment and you're just going to spend. Versus if you say, okay, I've got $200 to spend going out to eat and I'm going to spend this much money. but Samantha spender is almost a vindictive spending. So again, you have to be careful of the I deserve. I earned is a better mindset than I deserve. Let's also talk about the elephant in the room with business owners, which is, are you keeping your business and your personal separate? And that's very important. And I know we've talked about this in my blog article called, Not Your Piggy Bank. And it's so important for you to not get your business and your personal finances intermingled. In a perfect world, if you are a business owner, you should be paying yourself a salary, an hourly wage, or a commission based as if you were an employee. So with that, if you're commingling things, the first thing you have to do is separate them. Treat your business and your personal very separate. You have to do that. If you do not do that, eventually it will come to bite you in the ass. So for those of you guys that are like, okay, I've definitely started to separate my business and my personal. Now what? Okay. Why are you not having enough money? Why would you say struggle? What do you feel like is making you struggle if you're a small business owner? One thing is hiring employees at way too high of a wage. Giving an employee 50% of gross profit, which is profit before you take out all of your expenses, is very difficult. And the reason why is because between paying for basic things like just even workers' comp insurance, making sure that they're legal employees, paying for payroll, paying for all these things, it eats into your cost. And you need enough money from these employees that eventually you can upgrade your salon. Honestly, it's very tough to make it enough money to make it worth having employees because employees are so expensive. And those of you guys that are employees, trust me, owning employees are very, very, very expensive. But if you want to hire someone legally, there's a lot of things you have to do. And there's a lot of differences in the business. And once you get to that point, it makes it a lot harder. And honestly, as employees, it's very important for you guys to know that if something goes wrong, you can walk away. Your employer can't. If something bad happens, you can go get another job. That person may lose $40,000, $50,000 of their investment. But yes, business owners, if you're struggling to save money either in your personal life or in your business, is it because you're not paying your employees in a way that you can honestly afford? That is kind of painful. I've known lots of groomers say, I run a very successful business and I have all these employees and we make all of this money. But then when you actually look at how much money they make and how much money the owner can actually take home, it's crazy. So let's pretend that you're like, nope, I pay my employees under 30% or I pay them an hourly wage and that payroll is under 30%. Perfect. Okay. What is another reason? Maybe you took out a lot of debt in the business and the business doesn't have enough money to pay you. So what do I do about that? Well, make it a priority to pay off the debt in your business. Maybe that means working more hours. Maybe that does mean hiring an employee, figuring out, maybe that means raising prices. These are all valid ways to do that. And again, remember, the business is not going to pay off you and not going to help you save because the business also needs to make their own emergency fund. So the business needs to pay off that debt, not to help you necessarily, but in order to save up for their own emergencies. That kind of sucks. That's why being a business owner, you should really take being a business owner very, very seriously. You're like, okay, well, the business doesn't have any debt, which is amazing. So what is another reason you might be struggling as a business owner to save money? Some of it may be the fact that you aren't actually making as much money as you think you are. What is going on in your business that there's a lot of ebb and flow? How could you stop the ebb and flow? And we're all going to have ebb and flow in the grooming industry. That could be one reason. Another reason could just simply be you're not very good at saving money. And you're like, well, that could be anybody. But when you're trying to save money as a business owner, it takes a lot more commitment because everything is pulling at you and you're not very good at saving money. You're not very good at saying no because when you're a business owner and you need to prioritize money, you have to be good at saying no. There are going to be a lot of things you're going to have to say no in order to funnel that money into a savings account. So how would I do this? Again, sell extra equipment like we said. Really look at your lease. Are there things that you could cut? Could you renegotiate? A lot of times if you tell your landlord, hey, I want to renegotiate. I've been a great tenant for the last 2-3 years. I know you generally go up. However, I'm willing to prepay a couple of months in advance and save some money. And you might be like, how the hell am I supposed to save money if I'm prepaying things? Because the business is not you. You have to worry about you. The business should have enough money in it that it can pay you as an employee. If your business cannot pay you as an employee, it is time to go through that business with a fine-tooth comb to figure out the viability of your business. Some of us own businesses that don't actually make any money. And if that's the case, you got three choices. You can either restructure it so it makes money, you can limp along till you can't anymore, or you can close. You can pick one of the three because it doesn't last forever. You can't run a business and not earning money forever. So one of the main things, whether you're a business owner or an employee, about trying to save money is being diligent, doing small things. You can also do really fun, interesting small things. Fun tips you can do is save your change. Don't give your change away. Start with $5 a week. Go ahead and take $5 out of your account and into your goal. Every week, $5. You know you can do $5. And then up it to 20, go to 30. Other ways. Cash is really good for you to be using because generally when you have cash, you spend less money. It's because cash actually hits the pain receptors in your brain. Debit and credit cards do not. If you do have cash, another good way of doing that is every time you get a $5 bill, save that. Some people do that. I find that kind of hard because I like keeping lower bills and that would really screw up my personal budget, but that is a good way to start saving things. Without sounding like a mama hen, tips. What are you doing with your tips? Take your tips and put them in a savings account or put them towards one thing. If you have one thing that you really, really love, like vacation fund, whatever it is, I don't care if it's savings, put your tips towards it. For those of you guys that get tips into your check, go ahead and pull it out, and decide what you're going to allocate that towards. It doesn't have to be savings, but savings is a great way to do that. We could go into a lot of other things. I know there's been a lot of information today, so don't feel powerless. You can have control. If you guys have questions, you're welcome to ask me them. I can't always answer them right away, but I will either follow up with you or I will go ahead and do a follow-up video for you. Now, it's really nice to get at least some of these things started and working on it. I would love to hear you guys sharing. If you are struggling financially, what of these strategies are you going to be using? Did you identify why you're struggling? What is it that you're going to do in the future? Because right now you may not be in a place to save because you have so much other things on your plate, but when will you? All right, guys, happy grooming.